Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 151st episode of the Philly Blitz Pod. I'm your host, Piero Baptiste. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Markwell Fripp Owens. Brother, how are you doing? It's Combine Day. On-field testing began today. What's going on?
Well, dub to those who celebrate. It is I, the one and only Markwell Fripp Owens.
Oh, wait. I gotta get back on in my hosting bag. Shout out to the good folks at 14th and Market.
I was going to leave you alone until the end this time, but you can probably hear it in my voice. I just had to kind of get out off a long, extremely long day of work. Speaking of long day of work, you said this is what, the 150 something podcast?
151st.
151st. Feels like my 151st podcast of the week.
Yeah, my boy, man.
Uh,
My boy been putting in hours.
yeah, my wife,
Every day,
I
every
had a
day you text me.
podcast.
Every day you text me, hey, bro, we got one more in the vault.
I had one that got postponed, and I was like, I mean, am I bad for feeling like this is a good thing? Because I don't know how many off days I got this week. She was like, yeah, don't burn yourself out. I'm like, I know, but I mean, because content, they got to get done. It's that time of year. So, what, speaking of content, they got to get done. We always got to make time for the Philly Blitz Pod. It's this first priority, number one. So,
This is home base.
this is how we pay the bills.
But yeah, man, like I said, bro, the combine kicked off this week. On field testing started today. We heard from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman on what was that, Tuesday, or was that Tuesday or Monday? I think Tuesday.
I think a little bit of both at this point. I thought I wasn't, to me, I wasn't scheduled to hear from them till Tuesday. And I woke up Tuesday because I had to open at work. And Pierre done sent me 6, 7 paragraphs, or Seppo sent me and Parf. Like, yeah, apparently they don't talk to the media. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think it was a thing where before the combine started, they did some like in-house type of thing with local Philly media, and they kind of put an embargo on it and was like they couldn't talk about it until I guess everybody was in Indy for the combine.
Mm,
And then that Monday morning, that was when everybody started kind of,
release
putting
the
stuff out.
details.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes
But I mean,
sense.
I think like, from listening to them, Tuesday and then reading, what everybody wrote on Monday, it was kind of much of the same. I think we can start on Nick. I think for me, the most interesting thing we heard from him was kind of the whole process on Sean Mannion, where he talked about how, he went into the process looking for a, offensive coordinator with play calling experience. Like he flat out said that. He talked about how the McVay Shanahan offense wasn't a prerequisite, but kind of just as the process moved forward and he talked to more and more coaches, more and more candidates, it kind of became, the system that he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, to echo a bit of what you're saying, it, I ain't gonna lie to you. I listened to a whole lot of Howie this week. I really didn't listen to much Nick.
It
Once
was
I,
it was interesting hearing what he said though, bro.
I mean, I said I didn't listen to much. That's not saying I didn't listen to any. I did, but I didn't finish his. It's crazy because I didn't finish Nick's presser, but I've watched every single press run that Howie Roseman has been on. I've listened to his presser. I've listened to him talk to Florio. I've listened to him on Rich Eisen. Anything Howie Roseman had to say, I've been all ears. I mean, this isn't anything negative against Nick Sirianni. I mean, I kind of basically the same thing that you just outlined was all I really wanted to get from him. Anything else that was it wasn't really much else to get from him in terms of content or details from what he had to say. And on top of that, like you and all of our colleagues love to say, Nick does a really good job of saying a lot, but not saying much of anything.
I mean,
Good
I ain't
coach
gonna lie
speak.
though. I do feel like he kind of said a lot when he got into the Mannion process with the whole
Yeah, that's why
offensive
I said
system and the scheme and everything.
he
Like
we I
just
got
listen to
so you know what? Thank you for saying that. There is one thing I took from him on that
the
part.
run game.
Not necessarily the run game. It was the utilization of the term blend.
Mhm.
And it was very reminiscent of when Kellen came into town. And I mean, he used the term blend. He also tried to sound very modest when Kellen first got here. Like, yeah, I'm going to give Kellen the reins. I mean, we're going to try to find a way to blend everything together. And kind of like we talked about in the last pod when I spoke about what Parks Frazier could be to this football team. Basically, the new Kevin Petula, and we were like, yeah, nobody want to hear that. I get it, but Nick kind of outlined the same thing where he's the new Kevin Petula. He's the guy that is the blend from the old scheme to the new scheme, kind of ties everything together. Now, it was me trying to fight through the tea leaves of figuring out exactly the utilization of this term blend. Because last time we heard the term blend, you wrote a whole article about what's there to expect in the Kellen Moore system. And then we came out and seen 42% of the Kellen Moore system. I mean, I seen I don't know, I guess you can call it a graphic that talked about the pace of play of typical Kellen Moore offenses and how they usually rank at the top of the league or near is either first or second. And then there's that outlier in Philadelphia where it's like 26th. And it's like, yeah, I mean, he had his fingerprints on it, but it wasn't completely.
It wasn't fully his.
Right. So it leads some concern. And I don't want to say concern because, I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. And I like to think, I don't know, I can't see. Oh, I see it. The combine is here. What do we learn from Sirianni and Roseman? If I could rename the title of the podcast, this is going to be the Truth Podcast because there's going to be a whole lot of truth coming out in this podcast that we're at the point in the season, we've heard a lot from these people that we need to be honest with ourselves, basically. And while, I mean, we should be honest with ourselves in this situation. While I do think that he specifically sought out the wide zone scheme and he's intrigued by the prospects of what could be, not just for the offense, but for also the quarterback. But if y'all think it's going to be a complete, I don't want to say complete shift because it is going to be, I don't want to say a 360, but it might be a 180 from what we're used to.
If it's a 360, that means you staying in the same spot.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying.
Cycle.
Whatever. Well, it's probably going to be, how I put it, it's probably going to be more obtuse than anything. Where it's a lot of Mannion, it's a lot of wide zone. You're going to see a whole hell of a lot more fingerprints than we've seen from Kellen Moore. At the same time, again, Parks Frazier means something to what's going on here. And they talked about his time in Miami and him working under the scheme. And kind of like you mentioned, in one of the veteran play caller, it kind of outlined, I don't want to say it outlined the fact that they wanted Dable and they wanted McDaniel. I mean, it was no secret, but now the cat's out the bag. But it was cool listening to how we got his whole process of how we got here. They said they interviewed 17 people.
Yeah.
So it's listening to how the process of how they landed on Mannion was ideal. It was cool. I just feel like we've been in this rigmarole before, and I would like to see exactly how things play out on field.
Yeah, but just to give a little bit more context, because like I said, I do think a lot of what we heard from Nick was really interesting. He put a lot of emphasis on the run game. We talked about how tough the run game is, specifically in this system, how tough it is to defend with the wide zone system, and how it quote unquote handles a lot of the junk that defenses can throw at you in terms of like all the disguise and the sim pressures, and how we like to phrase it, the sort of controlled chaos that we see from teams like Minnesota or Baltimore or Denver, Seattle, or those type of teams. Then he went into the marriage between the run and the pass game that the system creates, where you're able to go under center, you're able to work in the play action passing game off of that. I think Nick kind of realized, like, in order for this offense to be the best that it can be, it needed to be modernized. Like, we talk all the time about the talent and how the talent can't be your only solution. That can't be your answer to the problems. Scheme matters too. And I think Nick realized that, right? Like, I think this specific instance, it shows a lot of humility from him in terms of him being able to kind of look at it from the proverbial like 90-foot view and kind of look at it and just say, the stuff we've been doing, stuff that I want to implement as an offensive mind is kind of run its course and we need to pivot. So I think it's good on Nick. And, you say you don't think it's going to be like a complete pivot or a complete 180. I kind of disagree because it's like, I don't think they would bring in as many guys from this tree. I don't even think they would give Sean Mannion the keys like this if they weren't gonna.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They have given him the keys. That's why I said it's going to be pretty obtuse. I mean, in definition, it's like, what? begins at 65 and anything between 65 and 180, that basically is the best definition I can give you. Where anywhere between 65 and 180 is where we'll land on how much Sean Mannion has his hands on this. And just because I say that Sean Mannion doesn't have his hands completely on it today, I mean, again, it kind of goes back into what I was saying. He's a first-year play caller. They only gonna give him but so much on this plate. They're gonna let him. He's gonna call the plays. I think Nick might for the action. I don't want to say for the first time, but for the first time with the first-year play caller, might actually take a step back and say, "Look, you kind of figure this out, pal," which is ultimately what we're shooting for, what we want to see. But at the same time, I don't think it's gonna be a whole. Yeah, Sean Mannion. We get in the press conferences. He like, you're gonna have to ask that question to Sean Mannion. And I mean, given Nick's not that kind of guy anyway. He's the kind of guy to take the bullet for the team. But then, of course, it creates the conversations like the conversations we're having now. Well, how much does Nick butt in and things of that nature? So, I mean, of course, in hindsight, we'll never truly know how much Nick is involved in this situation. But to your point, they have brought in a multitude of people that have pointed to the direction of them trending out of what they want to do. It's just, I mean, again, them promoting, not even just them promoting Parks Frazier. I think them promoting, I don't know his name, but I do know the assistant quarterbacks coach was also kept in the building as well. Yeah. Like, there are people who are familiarized with what they've done offensively in the building, where I think it's them trying to build a true bridge. Now, the problem with the bridge is figuring out how much of this do we keep. And because, I mean, I heard somebody speak about it. I believe it was, damn, I wish I remembered her last name. I know her first name is Olivia, Eagles reporter. She was on with Jeff McClain on this podcast. And she was basically talking about it, how much of this do you want to keep? But it's not like the Eagles offense was good last year. We ranked, a bunch of them was ranked 20 something in a bunch of high ranking categories. So how much you try to keep, like, what is the meshing point, for lack of a better term, between an offense like Nick's or the things that the quarterback specifically are comfortable with and what you guys are trying to do? Or are they just going to a complete, you're going to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable situation?
Yeah, and I think, Nick talked about it where he, talked about Jalen's success or comfortability, operating from under center, specifically in the play action passing game, and kind of some of the success that he had last year in that system, and kind of, I guess, as to why he feels like Jalen can operate in this system. And, it's true, he did have a lot of success, operating, from under center in terms of play action passing game. It's just we didn't do it a lot.
I mean, it was so nice to hear you be so modest about what he was saying. But hearing him answer that portion of the question, it kind of felt a lot like us on the podcast where we say, well, Jalen Hurts, we know if anything in this world going to happen, Jalen Hurts going to get better. He ain't never the same player from year to year than what he was. He always works to get better at something. Whether it means he has a better season than he had the year before, that's a different conversation, but he always works to get better at something. So, of course, he's going to always work to get better at something. If he knows that's the bread and butter and the MO of this scheme, Jalen Hurts might be the best under center version of Jalen Hurts we ever seen. But there are a lot of other things in terms of the quarterback conversation of Jalen Hurts that have to go into this, where it felt like he avoided that part of the question. He just was like, yeah, I expect him to take a leap in what this offense wants him to do. Yeah, sure. What about him being a quarterback?
Yeah, and I think a huge piece to that puzzle is also Sean Mannion, right? Like, it's been reported kind of ad nauseum how big of a hand, or how huge a hand Sean Mannion is going to play in terms of coaching the quarterback. That's why I feel like they were willing to promote Parks Frazier, a guy who's never been a quarterback's coach, because they know Sean Mannion, he's going to have a huge hand in Jalen's development this year.
I mean, yeah, you don't say it like that though. He's been basically everything that's on the. Basically, he's a quarterback's coach is next in his line of development. Yeah. He's well acquainted for the job.
Like I said last part, bro. I like Parks. I don't know if he was ready for the quarterback position on this team. I agree with what you're saying. It was kind of the next step for him, but I like him. It's just this is his first time doing it. Kind of like Jalen when they asked him about, Kevin before last season, where this is the new step for Parks, bro.
I mean, that's a great
He's never
example
done this
because
before.
in theory, going from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator is one of the, like I said in the last part, you either go from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator, or quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator. So there could be a fine line given that fact that he went from pass game coordinator to quarterbacks coach. I don't want to say it's like a lateral move because it's not. It's theoretically a promotion, but still, it's like I get your concern. I get it. At the same time, like we've talked about, he's supposed to be the bridge, and he's done some good work. He did some quality work during his time in Miami. How much he picked up from his time in that scheme has yet to be determined, but that was doing a pretty solid job of showing a commitment to the bit, but still trying to get some continuity in the building. So I have no complaints about Parks. I have no complaints about the coaching staff in general. Honestly, it's just
Wish they would have brought another, at least a veteran in, somebody with some
I think one
experience.
might be on the way.
Who you
I
thinking?
I ain't got no sources on this at least or anything, but well, I ain't got no sources on anything. I just talk to people. But the Texans just got rid of Gerard Johnson, didn't they? And the Eagles
Did they?
they parted ways with him today.
Oh,
And the Eagles did interview him for the offensive coordinator gig. I mean, he worked under Bobby Slowick in a similar scheme, so it wouldn't surprise me if they brought him in some metric.
yeah.
So,
I can see it. I can see it.
I mean,
But
maybe.
just a little bit more on Nick. I do think it was kind of interesting that it seems like they went into this with their kind of focus being the run game, where like what we know of Jeff Lurie, he wants to be kind of on the proverbial like cutting edge of the passing game. Like he wants an explosive passing game. This is the same guy who, after Doug Peterson went into Green Bay and won, I think they rushed for what 200 yards. He had a meeting with Doug the next day and was like, "Hey, bro, why we ain't passed the ball more?" So
Oh,
I find that to be what's up.
I gotta look more into it to see how accurate that's gonna be. I mean, he did part ways with them, but then I just seen something talking about him might ended up back at Texas A&M. So hopefully not. We'll come to Philly. Call him now. Call him now. Pick up the
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, but just like I'm saying on Jeff Lurie, like he's the guy that wants an explosive passing game. And you know, theoretically, this system kind of should help in that avenue where the marriage between the running and passing game is there, and you're able to kind of build some of those explosives off what you're able to do in a running game. But it kind of seems like now, at least how I phrased it, they view the run game as the proverbial like connective tissue to the passing game, right? Where it's sort of a link. And we're used to, like, I wrote an article a couple days, week ago, whatever. We're used to kind of the two elements being separated, where it's Jeff Stoutland as the offensive line coach and the run game coordinator, and then you have the passing game. And it sort of created, Jason Kelsey has said this, but it created sort of a siloed approach in terms of the coaching staff, where I feel like it became like a marketplace of ideas where everybody had their hand in it, and for a long time it worked, right? They won 2 Super Bowls with that mode of operation. So it's not to say that it doesn't work or it
Mhm.
can't work, but
Oh, trust me,
I
we know
think
we've
they
had this argument for 2 weeks now.
yeah, I think they just felt like it just had run its course, right? Like, and that's not a knock to Stoutland, it's just they just felt like it was time.
Only reason, well, hashtag, the only reason it has run its course is because they couldn't find a veteran play caller to come into this building. But that's a different conversation for a different time. I'm not even going to say that because, I mean, it probably theoretically could have ran its course if Mike McDaniel ended up here because, like he said in his introductory press conference when he got to Los Angeles, well, they need help with the run game. In theory, I'm a run game coordinator at heart, which is exactly what Stout wanted to do or was
But
currently doing. So,
I think this situation was kind of untenable because even if they would have brought Stoutland back, Zach Berman has reported this, but the run game responsibility would have been gone. Either
yeah,
way, I don't think it matters who they would have brought in. The run game coordinator role would not have been his anymore.
exactly. And that's ultimately been my point. Honestly, I felt pretty. I'm not in the business of promoting other people's podcasts on our podcast, but y'all really should go listen to that Jeff McClain episode. It made me feel pretty vindicated about everything I've been saying on this podcast for weeks. Brother kind of took his ball and went home, and rightfully so. I mean, he's Jeff Stoutland. You don't disrespect Jeff Stoutland or make Jeff Stoutland feel disrespected, because that's ultimately where the conversation came from. Because Nick got asked about it, and he kind of spit a different tune. I don't want to say a different tune, but he said a whole lot of what I thought the case it may have been.
Yeah.
They thought it was supposed to be some collaborative issue, which is me kept sitting here saying they probably pitched some ideas, and he was like, "We're not doing that. I don't like that." And they did him anyway. And he was like, "Well, since you think you could do my job better than me, then take it." And I mean, I'm not in the building, so I can't say I got the answers. But listening to how everything kind of was playing out from everybody when they told their side of the story, it was obvious. He kind of felt like y'all went behind his back in terms of what the task of his job is. Yeah, and they sitting here looking at it like, well, I mean, damn, we thought everything we did was collaborative. Which, I mean, in theory, ain't wrong. They've spoken about this for years, long before us winning Super Bowls. When they was in Super Bowls and couldn't win them in 2022, everything was collaborative. Everything was collaborative. So Nick isn't wrong for thinking that, but at the end, you go ahead.
But Jeff still had the final say. Like,
exactly.
It was still two siloed elements. It was still the O-line in the running game and then the passing game. They weren't converged into one.
But even then, where like it also kind of, I don't want to toot my own horn, but it kind of again gets to the point where brother took his ball and went home, where nobody's saying anything about how Nick Sirianni legitimately went over there and took over Kevin Matullo's meetings because he wanted to have more hands-on in the offense. Nobody cares about that, though. It's just, well, how you tried to take from Jeff Stoutland and not your friend. He did. He clearly took from his friend. But his friend was okay with him being taken from, and Jeff Stoutland wasn't. That's ultimately all everything ever came down to. And we continue to make stuff bigger than what it had to be. Jeff Stoutland stood on all 10, rightfully so, because he's Jeff Stoutland. But Nick Sirianni tried to stand in the role of a head coach and did what he thought was best for a football team. And neither party was wrong. Nobody was wrong. I mean, you could talk about he probably could have talked to him better or been nicer. But at the end of the day, he was going to add them run concepts whether he liked it or not.
But I mean, we're not in the building, so we don't necessarily know how those conversations went.
Right. So I'm just saying how people try to make the thing. People try to make it seem like he didn't know he was talking to him any type of way, or he just basically was like, "I'm taking your role, and you got to be okay with that." Even if that was the case, I don't think that was the case based on everything that I just said. But even if that was the case, like, brother, he's the head coach of the football team. I don't give a damn how long you've been here. Like, I've been in my job for a long time. I think I got weight at my job. I also have a boss. If my boss tells me something, that's it. So I don't understand why it's such a big thing at the end of the day. But I mean, it is what it is.
It's because it's Jeff Stoutland, man. It's because
it's a business.
Rightfully so.
Y'all understand this with every player that comes through and all it is a business. Every time a player about to leave from this team, it's always about the bad stuff. AJ Brown can't catch the ball. CJ wasn't in position. Nobody want to mention none of the good stuff. But as soon as we talk about some damn coach, because he been here for all these years, oh man. Jeff Stoutland, you can't do that to Jeff Stoutland. Are you fans of the Eagles or are you Jeff Stoutland fans? Like, let's be real with ourselves. Like, this whole situation really, everything about it, and I get it.
Hey,
the media did a great job.
I'm turning that into a reel.
Like, this is bullshit, man. Sorry, I'll pay my fine, but all of it is crazy if you ask me.
Well, no, just to put a bow on it, the quote from Nick that he had on the situation was, just quote, some of the things, we think we're leaning towards doing is a different way of going about it. Bottom line, I just feel like there definitely was some relationship stuff that kind of played a part in it. And for Jeff Stoutland, that might have been the deciding factor for him to just be like, you know what, y'all can have it, I'm out. But again, like I said, as we know, the run game coordinator role was going to be stripped from him either way, if he would have came back or not, regardless. So I think it was just a thing where it's just two different worlds from a schematic perspective on top of the whole relationship thing, and it just didn't work anymore.
And sometimes that's
Not to say
okay.
that's a bad thing. It's just
Right.
it's just
Like Andy Reid left Philadelphia. We were salty when they started winning Super Bowls, but then we started going and winning. And at the end of the conversation, I mean, I don't think anybody hates Andy Reid or his time in Philadelphia. We adore you. You changed the trajectory of the franchise. At the same time, sometimes things change, times change, and change is needed. And we might have just reached that point, in my opinion.
yeah. But all right, let's pivot here to Howie Roseman. I know you said you did a lot of work into his press meetings, whether it was the press conference itself at the combine or with Rich Eisen and NFL Network and all of that. What you think about what you heard from Howie?
ESPN. They done made the purchase of NFL Network. That's
Oh
on
yeah,
ESPN Radio. I'm
yeah.
like, Rich Eisen, ESPN, I guess. But I'll click play. But just from my perspective of everything that Howie was saying, I don't want to say it's going to be a continuation from last offseason, but it's going to be another version of last offseason. And we really need to get on board with the fact that things might change offensively in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. I mean, of course, we talked about the scheme changing. Ideally, I mean, you and I have talked about it multiple times over the last month or so. This could probably be the last hoorah for this group. Because, I mean, there's a lot of things we could talk about. This offense is theoretically made to create space for running backs. And I mean, yeah, you can see the whole example of a CMC conversation and what Saquon did for this team, which is probably what this 1 year is supposed to be. See exactly what Saquon could be in this offense. But again, this offense has made a nature of taking 6th, 7th round running backs and turning them into stars. So don't be surprised if Saquon isn't the Eagle after this year. Just
Well,
talking
brother, he's about to
BS.
be he's about to be 30. Doesn't he have what 2 more years left on his deal? Yeah, he's
Again,
yeah
just talking
yeah
BS.
yeah.
But like even on a wide receiver portion, I'd like to think that AJ Brown will be back.
This is last year on the team, bro. I've
I
come to
know
grips with it.
I've said that for over a month now. This probably his last year on the team. I just like to think that he will be back. I could say, I mean, like I say, I don't have sources. I just talk to people.
I
A
mean,
couple of people.
so let's kind of have that conversation, right? Like after listening to how I kind of poked around with the Rich Eisen pod or Rich Eisen show and kind of his comments from the combine pressure and everything like that. Like, I still think AJ's here in 2026. I've been shouting it from the mountaintops, but like,
Yes.
I
So
think you can read into it like whichever way you want to, but like how we said, we're not going to get rid of good football players, and I think AJ Brown is still a good football player. He's under contract, and I feel like if the situation was that untenable, they would have traded him at the deadline, or
I
like
think you
it would have come
are
out by now.
you're almost there, buddy. You're almost there. I was where you were for a long time. Honestly, I was where you were to probably about an hour before the podcast, where people started responding to me and when I started tipping into the tea leaves of what was going on and stuff like that. And just talking to a couple people, all I can say is I expect AJ. I expect AJ to be an Eagle. If I had to put a percentage on AJ being an Eagle, it's probably 51-49 at the moment.
Okay, wait, no, pause. Why you think this?
I don't. Well, it comes down to a lot of things. It comes down to AJ Brown ultimately, and AJ has said the right things. And I mean, I was one of them people who, I mean, you listen to what he said. He's been consistent with what he said. Philadelphia's home. He loves Philadelphia. He wants to be in Philadelphia. AJ Brown has also talked in detail about his relationship with Mike
Mike
Rabel
Vrabel?
over the last few weeks. Well, over the last week, which hilariously enough, Mike Rabel returned the favor and talked about his relationship with AJ Brown today or yesterday, whatever the case may be. I'm sure that's some kind of tampering, talking about a player actively on another team, but that's a different conversation. But how I see it, it comes down to what AJ Brown truly wants, and why I'm at 51 is because I truly think AJ Brown wants to be in Philadelphia. I think that there's a part of him that understands what he can accomplish in Philadelphia. He just needs a reason to be there, which is it was good to hear the whole Sean Mannion came in with a plan for him and all that. I'm sure Sean has talked to him. Shaquan has already said he done set with talk with Sean and stuff. So it's in the air. I'm sure they've had a conversation at minimum. I don't know how detailed it was, but again, it just ultimately comes down to AJ Brown. B, Howie Roseman, while like you said, everything he has stated on every platform he's been on says, I'm not looking to trade AJ Brown. I want AJ. AJ wants to be an Eagle. We want AJ to be an Eagle. AJ is expected to be an Eagle this year. Now, if you're going to call me and offer me something I can't refuse, I'm not going to not answer the phone. He's both in public and from what I've heard from people in private, basically let it be known. I'm not actively trading him, but if you can come to my door with something, like basically he wants value. He wants it's fair. It should be fair for like that for everybody, but that's why I say we go ahead.
I feel like that's negotiating 101, right? Like even me as a fantasy football GM, everybody available. It just depends on what you want to give up for.
That's just not true though with you. Like and I mean, I guess you could sit here and say that that's how we gonna be on. Like if the Patriots call and ask for AJ Brown and you think Howie's like you and he gonna say, all right, yeah, I'll trade you AJ Brown, and he sends back 2 first-round picks and Christian Gonzalez. Okay, then I guess because the Patriots gonna look at that the same way I look at your trades. Like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? We got a starting point, but let's be real.
That's the starting point. The starting point. I send that, you send something back. That's negotiating.
You saying it like that is basically saying, at least in my eyes, and we probably shouldn't be having these conversations because we're in multiple leagues together, but in my eyes, when you send stuff like that, it basically tells me he's untouchable. I'm not sending another trade for him because clearly you don't want. If that's how high you value him as, then I can't meet them prospects and I'm going to look elsewhere. But if that's just you trying to see if you got a sweetie, I mean, I get that in theoretical terms.
That's the negotiating point, bro. That's how we started.
Like that's why I say if Howie's starting right there, is he gonna get hung the phone up on because clearly you don't want to trade AJ Brown. And I mean, based on what Howie has said, Howie has continued to say, I don't want to trade AJ Brown. So two things can be true.
He does.
He doesn't
because like I said,
he also understands the market, brother. And he watched the Super Bowl. He knows they're a team. AJ Brown is like Howie ain't stupid. AJ Brown's a Patriots fan. Patriots hired Mike Rabel. The Patriots just went to the Super Bowl and lost because A, they couldn't protect the quarterback, and B, they didn't have a multitude of pass catchers that made a difference in that game. So they just might be dumb enough, for lack of a better term. I don't mean to say it like that because I think they're very really God damn it, really round franchise. Yeah, that it was just kicking my ass. God damn, they are really ran. A really well run franchise. Run. Whatever the hell you want to say. They do a good job at putting the pieces together. But they do a good job in New England. So I don't think they're dumb enough to basically offer what Howie Roseman would want. But there are teams who we've seen teams who think they're on the brink of winning a championship. The coach just offered 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. Like, I mean, there are teams. It's possible. Like, if somebody gonna offer that for AJ, you can't deny it, no matter what.
The way I look at it, it's a thing where I don't think it's as hyped up as everybody making this out to be. Like, oh, they're looking to trade him, or he wants out, and him and Jalen Hurts can't be in the same locker room, and all that. I don't believe. I don't believe any of that. But how you just phrased it, where if somebody makes them an offer they can't refuse, that's just good business. Like, I don't think they're picking up the phone and being like, hey, we got to move AJ. What's your best offer from? I don't think it's a situation like that.
And see, I feel like us having this conversation right here, what makes the situation so toxic It's because how everything played out in Tennessee with AJ. Because AJ wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like this before Tennessee, and then they traded him. He's even when he was locked into deals with the Eagles, he continued to say like, "Look, it's a business. Anything could happen. They could trade me today or tomorrow." And then things started to get louder and louder. Where I mean, he gonna continue to echo the same thing. It's a business. They could trade me today or tomorrow. That don't mean he don't want to be here. He just understands what could happen. And Howie is basically repeated the same sentiment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look, if somebody gonna offer something where they gonna steal him from me, okay, you can have him. But I'm not actively looking to give him away. And that's why I put it at 51-49, because there could truly be a franchise who thinks they are an AJ Brown away from winning a championship. Now, there's also another fish to the puzzle of what people I was talking to said, where of these teams have to understand exactly what AJ Brown is medically. Like, what's the knee? What's the hamstring? What's all of this? Like, what am I bringing in the building? So, between it sounds to me, based on people I've talked to, all I can say is between people who don't sound like they want to overpay because they don't want to buy, they don't want another Washington and New Orleans situation. You get sold a lemon, and Howie Roseman basically being like, "This guy's in my building. I know what I'm giving up. I know he's going to be under contract. He's going to be team friendly under contract, especially because we're going to be taking on most of the hit. I know that he done got 1,000 yards plus in 4 straight seasons. Like, I'm not just trading him to trade him. So somebody's gonna have to return. Like, based, it just seems like we're gonna end up in a stalemate, in my opinion, unless somebody is just desperate. It's just the question of if somebody gets desperate.
Yeah. But just on other fronts, just from what we heard from Howie, I tend to agree with you, like you said at the top of the when we first got on the topic, where change, right? Like I think Howie himself has had a bit of a change, and not necessarily in philosophy, but I guess kind of his mode of operation, where he's kind of become a lot more entrenched in his beliefs as far as like roster building, where like he said they want to be a team that drafts well, they keep their
Mhm.
guys, and they just spend sporadically in free agency, right? Like you talked about it, but it's going to be an off season where they kind of restock the cupboard from an offensive perspective, right? Um, like I said, they said they want to spend sporadically in free agency. Now, I don't think that means like they just are never gonna make a splash again. Like they're never gonna sign a
It
Saquon or
feels like it's
it does.
Saquon was the last splash.
It does, but I just think they want to prioritize keeping their homegrown
Well,
guys now.
Saquon and and Bryce Huff, but then Bryce Huff failed, so then we had to pay money to get rid of Bryce Huff because he failed. So
And I think something like that might have kind of forced him to shift or change his philosophy in a sense, right? Like you kind of get burned and you don't want that to happen again.
I get it. I mean, I don't want to say it forced him because like he talked about this. I think it was with I don't remember if it was Florio or Eisen, but basically, do you ever get to a point where you keep kicking the can and you run into a dead end? And he did a really good job of denying the question, but also giving you a lot of good information. Where he's basically like, "Look, I don't want to say that you ever get to a dead end. I think you can always keep kicking the can. It's just you gonna always have to meet your maker at some point."
Hmm.
Like, which he talked about them not being able to sign top tier free agents and stuff like that, which in turn had make them have to draft well. And it kind of talked about, I don't want to say it talked about, but kind of gave a blueprint of what this year could ultimately be, because the only way, like, I mean, we done tried building with this team, and we ain't Howie Roseman. We done played them little fake GM games out there, and I'm sure you done said it, I done said it. Everybody that I done heard talk about at least trying to work with the Eagles on them things say the same thing.
You can't restructure them on
Contractually
contract,
wise, it's
buddy.
hard.
They locked.
You gonna have to sign some extensions or something. Like, that was the only way I was able to increase cap, was sign an extension. So you can expect, like, it's gonna be so funny. Somebody, you're gonna see the tweet by the end of the year. You can, I mean, not the end of the year, by the end of the offseason, mark my words. But somebody's gonna tweet, the Eagles spent all this time talking about how it's gonna be an offensive year and signed all these defensive players to extensions. Yeah, because that's the only way
That's
they
the
can
point.
create money.
That's the point.
They need to get
He
them figured out now.
Yeah, and the analogy Howie gave was, you envision it as a layer cake where you draft well, you extend those guys, and then you build on top of it with more young guys, and you just rework the cycle. Where you look at it now, they're at the point where they've drafted well, they've drafted a lot of good young talented guys on defense. Now it's time to re-up those guys, and now you got to rebuild the offense, right? So like it's just the next part of the cycle, and it's gonna be hard for them to really make splash signings in free agency because a huge chunk of the money is going towards re-signing those young talented guys that they drafted. And I think the conversation gets interesting when you look at this team specifically, where it's like, who do they view as expendable enough to kind of lose in order to keep guys like a Jalen Carter, like a Jordan Davis, like Quinn Young, like Cooper, like Jalen Hunt, like Nolan Smith, right? Like, who are they willing to part with to spend more money to keep those guys?
I mean, I think Howie kind of outlined it, and when I listened to him talk, I ain't gonna lie, it kind of gave fearish of an AJ Brown trade, but maybe that was just how I was thinking about the conversation as he was talking, because it also could go a bunch of different ways from different people. Where you can also equate everything that he was saying to a guy like Reed Blankenship compared to Jalen Phillips, where I've seen a lot of people say
Brother,
that Jalen
did you
Phillips has
hear?
to be back.
Wait, pause. Did you hear the way he answered those questions about Reed versus Jalen?
Yeah,
Reed, he was basically like, you know what? He's been a good homegrown talent, undrafted. Story of success for the Eagles. That's what I feel about Reed Blankenship. And then when it came to Jalen Phillips, he was like, we traded a third round pick for him. You know, we like what we saw from him. We're interested in keeping him. We're gonna sit down with his agent and talk to him and
yeah,
try and hammer
but
something out.
he also see that's why I love having these conversations with you, because it's good to see different sides of the spectrum. I see it completely opposite of both, especially when you take into consideration what he said all day instead of just at those very moments. But he talked about how early on, he talked about how there are a lot of players that they have, homegrown players that they drafted that they really like, that they want to keep around. And I mean, granted, they didn't draft Reed Blankenship, but I mean, you guys outlined early on about how he's basically the heartbeat of this defense and exactly what he means to them defensively. And I don't think Howie's afraid to lose anybody specifically. I don't think he's going to overpay for anybody, but he also understands the value that a lot of these guys have to them defensively. I do think that they would love to keep Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips will get offered a contract. He might even get offered a contract before Reed Blankenship, because Howie's going to probably be banking on the fact that Reed will probably be a second tier start, a second tier signing,
I don't
rather
know
a
about
first
that.
tier. I mean, unless he's going to the Cowboys, he probably will. Because
That's
who's going to be who's going to?
that's
And it sounds
that's
like the Cowboys. I haven't heard anything about them and Reed yet, but I have heard
N'Kobe.
about them and yeah, N'Kobe. And N'Kobe's going to command a lot of money on the market. And based on my latest mock and all of that stuff, I ain't saying what my latest mock is going to be what happens, because what Christian Parker laid out is true. But also, when listening to Christian Parker, it makes Reed Blankenship like, which makes sense, because when you talk about the Eagles in their best form, Reed Blankenship was a strong safety, not a free safety like he was this year. And ideally, you what he explained about the safety position isn't Reed Blankenship. I mean, yeah, he could know the system, he could be the heartbeat of the defense and things of that nature and all that. But when you listen to Christian Parker talk about what he wanted in the safety, or what the safety position meant to that scheme, he could be a nickel, he could be a corner, he could walk, like, basically impact the game near the box. Like, that sound like CJGJ. That sound like Reed. I mean, that sound like Cooper DeJean. Like, those kind of guys where, for me, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys spend a high end asset at the safety position. I thought it would be at cornerback and offensive line, but it wouldn't surprise me if they spend a high end asset at the safety position based on how their defensive coordinator wants to be. Like, just think about Howie, and not everybody's Howie, but just from the day to day of general manager listens to coordinators and coaching staff, stuff like that. Howie understood how much the linebacker position meant to this defense, and he spent the first round pick, and God knows how long the Eagles have spent at a real linebacker, because that's Vic's forte. You look at a guy like Christian Parker, who he has made multiple franchise cornerbacks, all pro cornerbacks. He just talked to you about what a safety means to his scheme. If the Cowboys were wise, they would invest into what makes the scheme the scheme. And I talked about on one of my Boom or Bust episodes. I think this Cowboys defense will be built much more back to front from now on than front to back. But I mean, I'm getting off topic on everything. But I don't know. I think Howie, in his own right, he also talked about how Phillips, while they want him back, they think that his market might be a hella robust. And I mean, they understand. I think it was Mina Kimes that said it. That it was everything she looked at. He's like the third overall, second overall free agent in the free agent market. Clearly, he's going to get some money. How much injuries play a factor in all of it remains to be seen. But he's going to get some money. So
I think Jalen, I think they probably have a number that they don't want to go past, right? Like, I can't see them paying him $30 million a year. I don't think that's tenable at all. Like, I think if you keep it between the $20 to $25 million range per year on like a 3-year or like a 4-year with the option after the third year or something like that, I can see that happening. But it's just like you said, it's all going to come down to his market and what other teams are willing to pay him. But I think just in totality with Howie, I also think you have to factor in the comp pick game, right? Like, and I tried to do some research before the pod about the comp pick formulas and how that works.
Good luck.
I did not know it got this complicated. If I was in the weeds, bro. I do not understand it at all.
I scout players. Like when it comes down to time, why you think when I do my mock drafts, I haven't started doing trades yet? Because I understand teams have comp picks and stuff like that coming, and some teams will be more willing to do these things when that happens. But I don't know how that works or who's going to get what. So until I know exactly who's picking where in all of their picks, y'all picking from exactly where y'all pick at.
Yeah, and so like I think when you talk about free agency and potential signings, I think it's going to be a lot like last year where any additions are going to be in that $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, maybe $4 million range. Where
some little low key. I mean, I talked about on Twitter them taking a swing at a guy like Khalil Mack. He's been in the scheme, 1-year deal, just you try to ring chase or things of that nature. It's again highly possible, but
I think it's also dependent on the position too, right? Like listen to him talk about corner where he said, we got 2 all pros in Cooper and Quinyon, but we know we need to add somebody at the number 2 spot. Like I could see a guy like Eric Stokes on like a 1-year, $3 million, $4 million deal, something like that.
So you think
they're gonna
like
a marginal upgrade? I think so, yeah. Because I don't see them. I don't see them addressing corner high in the draft again this year. Not when you have as many needs as they do.
Elsewhere. So let's. I mean, of course, here we are in the middle of the combine day. We don't know anything yet. It's a lot more to take place. But so let's kind of try to talk ourselves through the ringer a little bit. You're the Eagles. You're sitting on the board at 22? 23. You have watched the tackle run slightly begin because the Chargers have taken Caden Proctor. He can play some tackle, but hit road runner.
Alabama guy, right?
Yeah. I'm just
pause. Wasn't he like 391 pounds or something like that?
At some point in the year, but I mean, that don't take away from the athlete he was. He was also catching touchdown passes at that time. So what do you guys have to say? Watch the film. Anyway, just if the Eagles get to a point where the run on tackles is clearly began or is near, but you have kind of similar to what happened in my mock draft. Receivers start to fall because, I mean, you see what happened receivers haven't ran yet, but we've seen how some of these players, and we'll talk about them in a minute. We're going to have to get to them. We're at 50 minutes. We're going to have to get to them soon, but you see how some of these defensive players have performed in the combine, and Wouldn't be surprised if some of them get selected earlier, which makes other positions fall. And you look at the board, and you have a capable tackle, a capable wide receiver, and a capable cornerback on the board. I mean, clearly,
Give me
you know
names.
what we're gonna do.
I need names.
All right, Caleb Lumu. I want to say Monroe Freeland, but I think Monroe Freeland's gonna. Everybody I talk to thinks by the end of the process he can be a top 10 pick, and I'm like, please stop. I don't want him to go that high. I see it. That's why in the very first mock I dropped, top 10. It depends on how tackles start to move off the board. If he not in the top 10, he'd probably be in the top 15, but they think he's going to go fairly high. I'm not going to give too much of anything, but all I can say is the North shall conquer. That's all I can give you. But it wouldn't surprise me to see tackles go fairly early. So at that point, you sitting at a guy like Caleb Lomu. I mean, I guess they could go max. Please help me. Is it Ian or
Ianacker?
Ianacker, man, that should be kicking my ass. I talked about that on the podcast. You probably heard me say it when you was editing, and I was like, man, it'd be killing me. I just call him Max, bro. But I ain't saying you offensive tackles haven't gone yet. If there's a world where he can rise, because like I just said, tackles probably could go early. There are a lot of teams on the back end that need offensive line as well. Like I don't start talking about the run on tackles until the back end of the offensive line. Of the draft. So it's possible that a guy like him could sneak in. A guy like Blake Miller could sneak in. Those kind of guys. So while I don't think they would go him there, just spitballing again. You got Caleb Lumu, you got Max, you got Blake on the board, just for tackle purposes. For wide receiver purposes, you have Jordan Tyson, because Jordan Tyson did not work out, and teams are kind of bugged. And you have a guy like.
Stop you there. Hold on, wait, pause. I'm gonna stop you there. If Jordan Tyson is on the board when the Eagles are at 23, I want them to sprint the pick in with his name on the card. That if he's there, he's too talented, bro. He is way too talented.
I agree with you. There's a reason he's my wide receiver too. And if I've said on multiple podcasts, if injuries didn't exist, he'd clearly be my wide receiver one, like by far. But like injuries exist, brother.
That's true.
And
you remember like a month or two ago when we had this exact same conversation. I think it was in the IG DMs, but I was on the other side of the coin, and you were like, "But he's so talented."
Yeah, that's because I knew you hadn't watched him yet, and I didn't want you to just be completely out on him. Like I seen you tweet something the other day where he was like, "Dude," I think it was that tweet where it was him just mossing a bunch of dudes. There's somebody tweeted some highlight clip, and I'm like, "Okay, Pierre found him. Now we can bring him back down to earth now." Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, in a perfect world, he's my wide receiver one. This just ain't a perfect world. And we got burned, brother. Sidney Jones still burns deep in Howie Roseman's heart.
Yeah.
He burns deep.
Burns deep in my heart, too.
I don't think he would, no matter how great the talent is. And that's what the problem is, because I had Sidney Jones. I think Sidney might have been my cornerback one at that point in time before everything happened. Like, Sidney was that damn good.
He was.
But, like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, an ACL and an Achilles, but then you start taking into account the torn pectoral and the hamstring. And, like, brother, what the hell? Can you please stay healthy? Just even a little bit. I think he's going to be in a nickel come draft day, man. Somebody's going to come away with the steal, but they're going to have to pay the price. They're going to have to pay the price for it, and we'll just see how long it works out for them. But just back to conversation purposes, you got Jordan Tyson. You got the three guys I just outlined at tackle, and you have Avion Terrell. Who do you take?
I think in that instance, to rank them, I think I'll put Tyson at 1, Terrell at 2, Lomo at 3. Because I think in the second round, there are maybe 2 or 3 guys at tackle who I could see them taking. a guy like I don't want to mess up his last name, but Caleb Tiernan, I think that's how you say it.
Tiernan.
Out of how you say it?
Tiernan.
Tiernan, yeah, from Northwestern, who 6'7", can move, kind of. And please don't mistake this for me saying he's Lane Johnson, but similar measurables to Lane, basketball background, all of those different types of things. And I think, say if you take a Tyson or a Terrell, they were able to get him in the second round. I think you're in pretty good shape. It just I think it just comes down to who's on the board. Like if Terrell is there, then okay, yeah, I can see them potentially, taking a corner again in the first round. But it just depends. It depends on who's there. Like
Yeah,
I think they'd be willing to shift philosophy for a specific player, like they did with Quinyon.
I don't know, man. This team is odd. Like, I think, of course, Loma will be first because it's how he always says. If the conversation comes down to a tie, if it's an offensive or defensive lineman or another position, he's going to go the trenches, which I get it. I get it. From
But
there,
would you think they would pass up on the talent of a Tyson or a Terrell for a Lomu? I mean, like I get the whole philosophy thing, but just prospect wise, like
I don't know, man. I don't know. Because, like, and I don't know if I tweeted this or if it was in the group chat that I said this, but in the theory of where they are right now of the championship window, I would draft a Tyson. The question is, how long does Howie believe that this championship window exists? Because there
but
are a
if
lot of
you
moves
if
that I think that they would make because of the window that they would make for the foreseeable future.
but if you take a Tyson, does that kind of force the window a little bit more open?
Is he on the field?
That's true. That's true. You have to
Like, oh,
consider
this
that.
is all
That's
the
true.
stuff that you got to take into account. Like, I would love, again, in a perfect world, yeah, it does extend the window, but like, you can't guarantee. I got a saying that I say all the time: you can't count money that you never had. Where you can't expect him to be on the field, and this ain't been his forte. He ain't been there. It's kind of like when we got him, we're gonna make the most out of the opportunities, but we also have to take into account the fact that he might miss some multiple games, and we're okay with that because that's why that's the only way you pick him. That's the only way you pick him. And somebody's going to be okay with that because somebody's going to be desperate for a wide receiver. But we're not desperate for a wide receiver. So you could try to look at
Cleveland
it.
Browns.
Yeah, yeah. New York Jets. What? I don't know. I don't
Are the
think
Jets really though? I mean, they
well,
got Garrett Wilson. He's number one for sure. But then
it
outside of him,
ultimately comes down to how they view AD Mitchell.
yeah.
They spent a quality amount of assets to get him. They gave him every opportunity to be himself. I mean, they got a new offensive coaching staff there, but still the overall coaching staff and front office that acquired him is still there. So it's possible that, I mean, they think he's good for the future, but they still going to need, I mean, in this league, you can never have enough DBs and never have enough pass rushers and never have enough wide receivers. So you keep shooting until you hit the top. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them take the swing. Again, ultimately it comes down to how they feel about AD Mitchell. I like based on my mock, and I mean, shout out to y'all. Y'all make sure y'all tap in. I got a Boomer Bust episode that talks about the mock. But if I were to release another mock today, probably have one out coming out soon for you guys. But if I had to do it today, I probably wouldn't have the Jets go wide receiver because you once free agency and all that act opens up, it'll kind of give you a perspective of where these teams are shooting. I think the coaching staff actually likes AD. They want to give them a chance, and they've seemingly placed the franchise tag on Brees for some stupid reason. So if Brees is going to
What's
be
the
there,
salary? What's the salary for a running back
I
to
have
place
no
franchise tag?
idea. That
I
that's
imagine it's like
I'm a
it's
draft
over
dude.
it's
The
over like 20
salary
million.
is off of my pay grade, but I like I do know some of these positions. Like I looked at the Falcons crazy for franchise tag and Kyle Pitts. Like y'all need to get a deal done today because the amount of money that he's
I mean,
going to
well,
get on the
this
deal,
isn't
on the tag, is crazy.
this isn't that bad. If Google AI is right, this isn't that bad.
What is it?
14.5 million.
That's horrible.
That's not that bad.
I don't know how much the running back market has went up, but when we signed Saquon, it was at about 12. So getting him at 14, I think we gave Saquon like 20, but that was just us being nice. That's why I don't think he's gonna be here for a whole hell of a. He here for a good time, not a long time. But
I mean, bro, the dude won NFC Offensive Player of the Year.
yeah,
Won
you
Super
had to
Bowl,
give him his money.
yeah.
You had to give him his
The
money
juice,
for everything.
the juice was worth the squeeze.
Yeah, and that was Howie being Howie, and we talk all the time about how he'll give you a nickel's worth of dime contract, but if you show your worth, he'll make sure you're taken care of, and that's exactly what got happened there. But I don't know, man. Outside of Saquon and maybe Derrick Henry, y'all gotta wait till guys like Bijan and Jameer start signing extensions.
Bijan gonna break the bank, bro.
If you think Bijan gonna break the bank, what you think Jameer is gonna do, brother? Them two probably sit there in a staring contest like you sign first. No, you sign first. Like gracious goodness, this is gonna go outrageous for them too, and they're gonna have to figure out if they want to pay running backs that much, or they're gonna have to put their foot down. Like, look, those two guys special. Y'all ain't that. So I don't know.
Yeah, but just back on the Eagles front, man, it's gonna be really, really interesting to see the path they take this offseason, right? Like, I think we can all agree that we don't expect them to make a splash in free agency, right? Like, they're gonna prioritize homegrown guys, and then when the draft rolls around, how they handle it in the first round is gonna largely, like it should, but largely be dependent on how the board falls. It's not gonna be a situation where they force a pick or anything like that at a specific position. It's gonna be who's the best player available. Like who can we take that's gonna not only open up our championship window, but give us the best opportunity to win in the future.
I think you saying in the future is the big thing. Because I truly think that these next this year specifically, especially because how I look at it, this is a really good meat and potatoes draft.
Yeah.
Next year, of course they're looking to be picking at 32 next year, so we'll see. But next year, I do think they have their eyes on the situation where it's like, look, you can find you a game-changing player, ideally, if everything falls right, because that draft class, and we say this about every draft class, this is the year after draft class, but for perspective, year, I've been waiting for this draft class for like 3 years now. Like, I'm ecstatic. I can't wait to start summer scouting. Honestly.
You know what I'm gonna task you with doing? If you have the time, write me out like a primer of next year's draft. Like kind of an overview, guys to know.
Shit.
Cool stats, different things like that. If you got the time, I'm gonna do my own research, but you the draft guy, so I value.
I can get you that. I probably can't get you that until like right after the draft.
Oh yeah, no,
I can get you
now.
a primer. Yeah, I'm about to say I'm too like knee deep in everything that's going on right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I got a couple guys I can get you because they were supposed to be in this class, but they said nah, bro. But we'll see. We'll see. But just in general of everything that's going on in this class from the combine today, is there anybody that stood out to you?
I don't think you can have a conversation about the first day of the combine of the 2026 combine without mentioning Sonny Styles.
Brother,
he was freaking phenomenal. Like he was unreal. Like no matter where you look, whether the testing, drills, measurables, he completely blew it out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like I say all the time, you know how I feel about these things. It's the Jim Shorts Olympics.
Yeah.
As an Ohio State fan, I would be lying to you if I told you I was completely surprised, because I'm not. When you look into the family background of this team, of these guys, My goodness. Lorenzo Styles Sr., who started himself at Ohio State. When you want to talk about freak of natures, like gracious goodness, like they don't move people the way Lorenzo Styles Sr. move. And he kind of passed all of that athleticism down to Lorenzo Styles Jr. Lorenzo Styles Jr., nickel corner, solid plus. Even better looker, solid player. He come off the bus and you see him coming off the bus, you're intimidated. You're like shit. But then he had another son, and there's Sonny Styles. And I mean, they always say the last child is always the golden goose. But like, they don't make him like him. He got all of his dad and brother's athleticism and just the football. Like, for some context for you guys know how I fell in love with Jalen Hunt. I fell in love with Jalen Hunt for the background in general. And I mean, this is basically big school Jalen Hunt. I mean, Jalen Hunt was an edge rusher and he's a linebacker, so there's some separation and of course positions. But this guy's a safety. He's literally a safety at heart. He was recruited as a safety. His brother played safety. I moved to nickelback. Like that, there's a family, well, not a family, but kid full of safeties. And he has kind of reinvented himself. He's played the linebacker position for like a year and a half at this point, almost 2 years. It's shit. I'm sorry again. I don't mean to use that language, but don't miss tackles. I think he missed one tackle this year. He had like a 91.6% missed tackle rate. Like, gracious goodness. Somebody's going to get a good football player. I also think somebody might overdraft him based on what he did today.
Oh yeah, so. Yeah, 100%. Like, and that goes into my kind of overarching point about the combine. I do think a lot of it is overrated. Like, a lot of it feels kind of show businessy, entertainment focused, where it's like, oh, what's he gonna run in a 40? What's his measurables? What's his 10-yard split? Like, a lot of that, like, they got to sell it and everything like that. But I don't think a team is gonna base their eval of a player solely off their 40-yard time or a 3 chrome drill or something like that. Right? Like, I think the combine should be viewed as an ingredient and not the whole recipe. It should kind of serve to provide more context, but it shouldn't make or break a player.
Definitely, man. And to capitalize on what you just said in two ways. First and foremost, you either look at combine as a guy like me, where it's like, look, it's the gym short Olympics. You look at it like this is the greatest day of your life because you're going to see some people run 40s, or you look at it like my wife does, where she doesn't like the combine. There's a Trinidad James song out there that explains how she feels about the combine. But anyway, for on the second hand of it, you can look at performances, and like you said, it shouldn't be the entire story. It should kind of just be confirming what you've seen on tape from some of these guys. And I mean, for guys like just to lay some examples of the day, you look at guys like David Bailey, where I mean, you and I have had the conversation of him and the get your ass out my way and what more of that. And I mean, he showed the explosiveness, the first step explosiveness, specifically how he performed in the 10-yard splits. But him in his 40, it was quality work where cool. But then you see him in some of the agility things, and it's like the race to the top, that L that we talk about, it's gonna be fun because once you get to the top of that L, if that tackle beats you there, I don't think you have to bend to get around it. But I mean, that's just what the film said, and this kind of confirmed it. I don't want to say confirmed it, but it made it look really bad. And then you look at a guy who, I mean, I guess you can say another guy the film told the truth about, and Cassius Howard, where I thought he would perform a whole lot better in the 40 that he did. But again, when you look at his 10-yard splits, just to get off, one of the top guys in the class in terms of 10-yard splits today. We just how he explodes off the ball. Another guy that was the same way, our Mason Thomas. I wish his 40 was a little better because I just spent the last 3 days bragging about how this guy's just like some freak agility. But I mean, I be also having to tell myself like everybody aren't wide receivers, cornerbacks, running backs. They're not gonna all run 4.3, 4.4s.
And
So
and I think
seeing these
that's
tackles and stuff run 4.6, 4.5, like these are I mean not D tackles, but D ends and linebackers. Those are good times.
yeah,
So
I think that's the thing with the combine, right? Like certain tests or certain drills kind of mean more to specific positions, right? Like, you know, an agility test or a 40-yard dash, like it can only confirm so much for a defensive end versus a wide receiver or a cornerback, where that speed is kind of telling in terms of the type of player you're going to be. Now, there's a difference between combine speed and game speed,
mhm.
but again, it kind of serves to just add more context to the full capacity of the player, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man. But just some downsides from me before I give it to you so we get out of here is um kind of disappointed what I got from Justin Jefferson, linebacker, Alabama. Guy's about 6'2", 220. He's kind of that mode of the safeties that are kind of going, I don't want to say going extinct, but are or linebackers that are going extinct. They're basically becoming these hybrid players that we know and love and things of that nature. And the way he plays on film, guy plays like his hair is on fire and probably the fastest player on the team, as Daniel Jeremiah outlined on the broadcast. But then you see him today, and he was a solid 4.58, which again, not a bad rep for a linebacker. But you're supposed to be a safety in a linebacker's body, so I kind of expected a little more out of him. Just a bit disappointed there. Another guy I'm disappointed in is I don't want to say disappointed, but I was kind of hoping for a little more. Is T.J. Parker? Where
Really?
yeah, I when I say hoping for like T.J. Parker performed how I expected T.J. Parker to perform, but I was hoping he gave me a little more. Like I, when you watch the 2024 tape, I mean, yeah, 2024 tape of TJ Parker, he looks like some freak athlete, like first step explosion, all the things that you're just left to get excited about. And today, I mean, quality. I believe his 10-yard shuttle was like a what, 161. But if you told me that he had the same 10-yard shuttle as Jay Barham and worse than Jacob Rodriguez, I'd have been disappointed. So,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like with TJ, like, that's been kind of the common refrain heard with him, like the 2024 tape, 2024 tape. And I get it, but a lot of players in that Clemson defense kind of
that Clemson
regressed, for lack
defense,
of a better
brother.
term.
Oh no, man! I'm glad I invested in what I invested in. Wait till you and I can sit down. But I got full access to every single all 22 Clemson game that you want to watch, and this year specifically, it was hard to be excited about anybody that got used properly on that defense that wasn't named Avion Terrell.
Yeah.
Avion kind of he made the most money out of all of them because they used him how he should have been. But the rest of them, if you guys can see the look on my face right now, it'll tell a picture's worth 1,000 words. Is all I can say. Like he lost a
Yeah.
lot of them a lot of money.
Yeah, but just on TJ, I kind of feel like the I guess you could call it the draft process from his work at the Senior Bowl to now. I kind of feel like it served as his proverbial like redemption arc, right? Where it's like he's showing that he's not really that player that he put on film in 2025 and more closer to the 2024 TJ Parker, where
Yeah,
we
but
saw
we trying to
him.
see him reach 2024 TJ
I
Parker,
mean, I
not
know
get close to it.
he's working back there. He's working back there. He's working back there. I think his 40 time he ran a what 4.68. Um, I think he did some good stuff today. Like you said, I don't think he blew anything out of the water, but it's kind of just real quality work. Another guy I like, Penn State's edge rusher Dennis Sutton. I think he had a really good showing. I think he showed a lot from a testing standpoint at his size, 6'5", I think 260. Um, and I think he kind of showed it's more to him than just him being like a bull rush guy, where he does have a little bit of athleticism to his game. A guy who I feel like, he did himself a lot of favors. Like, as long as he didn't bomb anything, like, he did himself a favor by just showing up. Keldrick Faulk. Dude looked like he was created in a freaking lab, bro. Like, 6'6",
he ain't do no damn testing.
He didn't have to. He didn't have to. Just his measurables: 6'6", 276, 34 and 3/8 inch arms, bro. Like,
he did a little something, but
somebody gonna take a flyer. Somebody, I really can see him sneaking in the top 10, though.
I can't see it.
I can.
He needed this, and I mean, he only reason he gonna get there is because his pro day number is gonna come out and inflate everything that's around him. But I was really looking forward to seeing him do a lot of the agility drills and run the 40, and just I get why he didn't. Because a lot of the reasons of why I agree why Jamal McCoy shouldn't have participated. The illusion of
Jamal
what
was
you
coming
are.
off an ACL tear, wasn't
he? That happened like a year ago, brother.
Oh.
Over 400 days ago. He's been practicing. He's got cleared. He's been practicing and everything. And I get it. You can hide behind I don't want to say hide because, again, I don't talk about prospects like that. But for lack of a better term, you can hide behind, you can mask it behind the prospects of rehab and how much prep have you truly done for a combine, and you just making sure your body's ready to get back on the field. I get it. I get that. I don't knock him for not participating either, because the last thing y'all seen from him was elite. Like if he had the opportunity to not play football all year and still is in conversation for the cornerback one in this class. And that isn't saying anything about this cornerback class, because this cornerback class is really good and really deep. Exactly. So if you're talking about a guy like him, like, if I'm him in this position, kind of just leave it as it is, man. Y'all have this perception of me. Why would I kind of ruin the illusion that it's up there? You either draft it or you don't. And somebody's going to take the chance because it's a mystery box. He didn't do anything to ruin that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think Keldrick, he did himself favors by just showing up, bro.
I don't know, man. We know he
looked
good. We know he looked good. We need to know how you move, bro.
He one of those. He get off the bus, the opposing team see him, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He definitely looked good, but it's like, do you have the juice, the facilities for this big man? Can I snap the ball and you ready to go?
I think as a run defender, he does.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in pass defense. We don't draft run defenders with top 20 picks.
But I think, again, it's all in team building. Like for a team like the Eagles, where you have a Jalen Carter, you have a Jalen Phillips for right now, you have a Nolan, like, you have guys who can rush the passer.
These are premium picks, Pierre. First round picks are premium picks. You are going to use a first round pick on a guy that you're going to play on first and second down that you don't see. Like, it's different. And the guy that I keep saying him, I keep seeing him related to is a guy like last year, Mykel Williams, where, hell, Mykel Williams is a guy you play on first and second down. He's best as a run defender. He's growing in pass as a pass rusher. But you can see the window. And then he tested, and it was like, oh, all right, cool. I get you. But right now, we don't have nothing on him. We just know that you big. And then we want to cut the tape on, and you get off the ball slow. And it's like I'm only going this hard because of the people that I know in the draft community, a lot of them have kind of faded on him hard. I'm one of the last few people that continue to keep the dream alive with him as this first round pick. And what he does in these type of settings means a lot to that situation. So the fact that he didn't test, it kind of frustrated me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, again, I brought him up with the same way I brought up McCoy, where it's like you want to keep the illusion alive. Like nobody knows. I'm ranking him this high because I don't know what it could be. The moment I find out is you either going up or you going down. So you trying to save face and put yourself in a better, because pro days are always a better situation than these things. But shit, man.
Yeah. But a couple other guys I like what I saw. My guy Zion Young, specifically in
Shout
the
out to
on the
Zion.
field testing, bro. Like he was moving. I think it's called the wave drill, where it's like they go side to side and then back, and yeah, like
You talking about
he
when they
was
start
moving.
on their stomach, get up, move,
Yeah,
move.
yeah, yeah. He was moving, bro.
Mhm.
A guy you outlined, Cassius Howell, who measurable wise, I do
He a
have
little
questions
guy.
about
He's
him.
a little guy.
Yeah, he
There's
is,
a lot
but
of those, man.
yeah, Ruben
Bane was
Bain.
little. I thought Bailey was going to measure a little bit. Like they were talking about 35-inch arms for Bane. I mean, for Bailey. And then he came in at 33 and 1/4 for 33 and 1.5. I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. You liars. So, I mean, a lot of guys came in a little shorter than we thought.
Yeah, but just on Cassius, I think his testing kind of confirmed what we saw on film, right? He's a very explosive speed rusher type of guy as a pass rusher. Like he ain't gonna do much more outside of that. He ain't gonna do no less. Like that's who
Hey,
he is.
hey, shit.
Not knocking him. I'm not knocking him.
My
I'm just saying
dog
that's who he
is
is.
cool and run support. I like him. He ain't the greatest. Don't get me wrong. He ain't no, yeah, don't run his direction. They probably gonna run your direction, pal. But
He's not Keldrick.
he ain't no, yeah, he ain't no sucker neither. So
And
it's
then
you can
and then
try.
yeah, and then two other guys, Malachi Lawrence and David Bailey. Really like what I saw out of Malachi. Like I didn't really know much about him going into the combine, but I just kept seeing him kind of pop up on the screen, and every time I saw him, he was doing something real quality. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make note of him. Make note of him.
David Bailey, bad day, son.
Think it
Bad.
was bad?
His agility testing was horrible.
Yeah,
He should have just not did it.
yeah,
He should have just not did it. And I get why he did it. You want to show you can compete, but again, you ain't do nothing. This stuff is supposed to be to confirm what we see on tape, and you ain't do nothing but confirm what I saw. You can race to that L we talking about, but once you get to that L, I need you to come up with And don't get me wrong, he's quality plan. It's not the greatest pass rush plan. He's still coming up with secondary circumstances that's just not pushing the person out his way. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he does a really good job translating speed to power. He gets to the top of that L. If it's a race there and you want to lay hands on him, he lay hands back. You going backwards, yeah. But you don't have when a tackle beats you to the top of that L and he gets you that first jab and you supposed to try to swipe and dip. The dip just ain't enough on your chip, brother. It's not there. It's I wanted to be there so bad because this pass rush bag is good. It's good, but man,
yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see the other guys test the rest of the week. When do the safeties test? Tomorrow?
if they test with DBs, I think they test on Friday. Yes,
Yeah, so
tomorrow.
tomorrow I will be seated. I will be seated for
And I
that.
think the last day is quarterback, wide receiver, running. And that last day, but Saturday is quarterback, wide
Yeah.
receiver, running back.
And then Sunday is O lineman, right?
Mm-hmm. Fat guys.
Yeah, a couple guys. Just before we get out of here, the Eagles met what there was reported today. Texas safety Michael Taffy, I think that's how
He
you
was
say it.
pressed to say that.
That was.
He was like, he probably wrote that down first. He seen that. I seen the tweet. I was like, look. He gonna be geek.
Yeah, Avion Terrell. Give me a sec. Let me finish pulling it up.
I think they met with Derek Moore. They did have
Yeah,
a formal meeting with him.
T.J. Hall,
Yeah,
Dalen Everett,
that
P.J.
was
Parker.
interesting to see. I've talked to a couple people telling them that Dalen Network could be a guy to keep an eye on. So to see that they had a meeting with him
Yeah,
was intriguing.
like I said,
They
bro,
also
on
met with
last pod.
EMW.
Who? Oh, the
EMW.
Toledo safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emmanuel McNeil Warren.
Yeah. Big fan. But yeah, like I said on Dalen Everett, man, I see the vision, but it's too many similarities to Keely Ringo, bro. Too many similarities to where I'm like, yeah, I don't know if
I keep telling you, you
I
thinking
want to go down
Keely
that road
Ringo,
again, dog.
you need to think Kamari Lassiter. Big difference.
Give me a little explanation.
Well, first and foremost, I feel a lot better about Dylan when
Dalen.
Dalen when he's in coverage. Not just in coverage, but when the ball is in the air, importantly. That was my big thing. I continuously compared Keely to a guy like Tyson. I gotta get this out fast. My computer on one. But completely, I'll continue to compare him to a guy like Tyson Campbell, where just when the ball was in the air, you weren't at your best. You did a lot of the good things, and there's a lot to be excited about with you, especially measurable wise. Not so much Tyson. Tyson was pretty small. I think he was like 5'10", but Keely. But for a guy like Dalen, he's very solid in coverage, man. Pretty underrated. I think he kind of goes under the radar versus in the group, this cornerback group specifically, because it goes so deep. But this is a really good player, brother. I'd be excited to get him in the building.
Yeah, I'm gonna do more research into him. But since your computer's on 1%, I think this is a good spot to end it. As always, thank you to all 78 of you who tapped into the stream tonight. For listening after the stream, on whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review. Rate us 5 stars. We'll be back next week to talk through the rest of the combine, talk through a little bit more draft stuff. Free agency is week after next, so we're gonna have a little bit more on that if the Eagles are gonna sign anybody, which we don't really think they are. But yeah, we'll be back next Thursday. With, like I said, thank you to everybody who tapped in. Go Birds.
Go Birds.